What's up, everybody? It is Friday. Welcome into the Pack-A-Day podcast here on YouTube. My name is Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. My main topic today is going to be the state of the Green Bay Packers, specifically the quarterback situation. This is going to be the first in a series. I'm going to be going over position by position and kind of reviewing how the position played last season, what free agents and what their current roster looks like heading into next season, maybe some potential free agents or draft picks that Green Bay could look at the position, or at least where they could look at the position, if it's a position of need, those sort of things. So I figured I would kick things off with the quarterback position, which I think makes the most sense. So I don't know that I'm going to do these in consecutive days. Obviously, if news breaks, if there's other things that I need to cover, I'll kind of break in and cover those. But over the course of the next couple weeks, I'm going to go position by position, break things down, how things looked, how things look moving forward, etc., etc. Again, starting with quarterback today. But before I get there, I want to go over a quarterback specific tweet that I sent out on Thursday, which, of course, anytime you send out a tweet, it's going to get some views. It's going to get some interesting takes. It's going to get some, a variety of different views from a variety of different spectrums. So let me go over my tweet first of all, and then I'll kind of break down my thinking on it. So I tweeted, what do all of these quarterbacks have in common? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Drew Brees. What do all of those quarterbacks have in common? None of them were selected in the top 5 of the NFL draft. And I've received a variety of responses, and most of it was positive, but of course there are those, that tend to lean negative and only have negative things to say. So some of the things that I received in response was, well, first of all, one of them was like, well, where's Ben Roethlisberger? Well, first of all, I was going over quarterbacks that were good this past season, and I'll get to that more in just a moment, but Ben Roethlisberger was very specifically bad this past season, so that's why he wasn't on that list. But you could add Ben Roethlisberger on that list as well, certainly Jimmy Garoppolo as well, but he was hurt this past season, so that's why I didn't include those two on the list. The next response that I got a ton of is, why are Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr on that list? Well, you can argue that, and if you want to take them off, you certainly could. Maybe they don't match quite the criteria of maybe some of the other quarterbacks on that list. But when I went through Pro Football Focus's top-rated quarterbacks, as I was kind of looking at this and putting it together, Kirk Cousins was number 11 on their rankings this year, and Derek Carr was number 10. And if you look at the 11 top quarterbacks by Pro Football Focus, only one of them was taken in the top 5 picks of the NFL draft, and that was Baker Mayfield. Rodgers, Brady, Watson, Mahomes, Tannehill, Wilson, Josh Allen, Prescott, Derek Carr, and Kirk Cousins were the others in the top 11, all of them not selected in the top 5. The next comment that I received back in somewhat of a regular, with somewhat regularity was, well, of course, you only have so many top 5 picks in the NFL draft. Picks 6 through whatever infinity, including undrafted free agency. There are way more quarterbacks selected over time. So of course there are going to be better, more quarterbacks that rank in that list that are taken 6 through whatever end of the draft and are undrafted free agents, which, okay, I understand that as well. But here was my point. I'm not trying to make a point of don't take quarterbacks in the top 5. That's dumb. I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars should be sitting with an opportunity to take Trevor Lawrence and say, you know what? Top 5 quarterbacks haven't turned out, so you know what? Let's just take Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase instead. Great players, nothing against Chase or Sewell, but they would be obviously super dumb to pass on Trevor Lawrence, or probably next up on their list if something happened with Lawrence or they fell out of love with Lawrence is probably Zach Wilson, probably going to go number 1, number 2 in the NFL draft this upcoming season. So both of those teams, if it's the Jets that select Zach Wilson at number 2 or whomever, even if they take Justin Fields, certainly would be deserved as well. All of those quarterbacks are deserving to go top 5 in the NFL draft if the teams deem it so. Also, I don't want to overlook the fact that there are some really good up-and-coming young quarterbacks that are in the top 5, including Baker Mayfield, who I mentioned. Kyler Murray is certainly on that list. We don't know what's going to happen with Tua Tagovailoa. We don't know what's going to happen with Joe Burrow. So some of those quarterbacks on that list could certainly still be really good. We certainly also have Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, who are still good quarterbacks in their own right, who were both taken number 1 overall. So it's not to say that picks in the top 5 can't be bad. It was just very interesting to me. And if you're familiar with how I operate on Twitter in any way, shape, or form, I very much operate with unique observations. And then a lot of times I even hesitate to post a strong take on things. I want to bring to you an interesting set of information and let you determine what you want to determine out of it, because I certainly don't want to be a hot take specialist. I just want to provide interesting context and observations and let you guys jump to the conclusions that you want to jump to. Now, here on YouTube, I may make a few more bold declarations, but even then, I want to try to provide as much information as possible so that you guys can come to the conclusion that you want to come to. So to me, it was simply an interesting observation that the top quarterbacks in today's game, or at least a good portion of them, Rodgers, Brady, Watson, Mahomes, Tannehill, Wilson, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Drew Brees were not taken in the top 5. And then I wanted to look back and say, all right, who was taken in the top 5 over the course of the last 10 years, the last decade? This isn't a short amount of time, right? Sam Bradford, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, RG3, Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Mitch Trubisky, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Tua Tagovailoa. And as I mentioned, certainly some names on there that have been good, certainly some names on there that we just don't know the result of yet. It'll take some time, but if you compare it, obviously it's not as good. And again, I know that there have been more players selected 6 through whatever than there have been in the top 5. But it just goes to show that my main point here is that the NFL has spent a ton of money, a ton of effort and resources into trying to identify the best quarterbacks. And I do know as well, another main comment that I got as well, the worst teams are consistently picking in the top 5, which is why some of these great quarterbacks go to poor situations and end up failing out. And there's absolutely validity to that. But at the same token, you end up with these teams that are spending so much time, effort, energy, and resources to identify these top quarterbacks, and they're still having, trouble with it. Even Andrew Luck, the generational quarterback, who would have been probably a Hall of Famer had he continued his career. Even Andrew Luck, the generational quarterback that was deemed over the course of the last decade, even him was outplayed, even if his career continued, was outplayed by a third-round pick in Russell Wilson during their career. So we just don't have this quarterback position down to a science. And even if somebody goes in the top 5 and they're a sure thing, and Trevor Lawrence is the second coming, which I think he's great. I think he's going to be really good. We just don't know. And until Tony Pauline, who I did a podcast with for a year over on Pro Football Network, he always said the draft is the start of the process. It's the start of the evaluation. It's not the end. It's not you draft them and then, well, that's it. That is the start of the equation of drafting a player. It's not the end. You put all the evaluation in, but when you draft them, that's the start of it. And then you start developing him and seeing how he does. That's really the crux of it. Drafting them is easy. Now you have to develop them. But it's incredible that some of the top quarterbacks across the league at this day and time, at this point right now, all of them really have not been top 5 selections. So that's it. Just wanted to make that observation. Didn't necessarily want to go 8 minutes into that on today's show, but I think it's really an interesting observation nonetheless, and I hope you enjoyed my diatribe on the state of quarterbacks throughout the NFL. So let's transition to the state of quarterbacks for the Green Bay Packers. So of course, right now you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got Jordan Love, and then you've got Tim Boyle, who is a restricted free agent. And let's just take a moment and pause and remind ourselves, and I know you know this, but that Aaron Rodgers was just the MVP of the National Football League. Let's just marinate on that for a moment, because as I mentioned in this past week or so, I forget which day it was, but there looked like a time where maybe Aaron Rodgers wasn't ever going to get back to that MVP level, that maybe he had reached a peak of maybe being still a top 10 quarterback, but not playing at the top of his game like he once was. That is no longer the case. And there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing. I don't care if Aaron Jones goes. I don't care if David Bakhtiari's out for half of the season. There's nothing that would lead me to believe that Aaron Rodgers cannot repeat that in this upcoming season. And I'm not saying MVP, but still being one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league. In fact, I would expect that going into next season. I don't think that would be a shock in any way, shape, or form. So Green Bay has the MVP, best player in the league, arguably, best quarterback in the league, arguably, and you can talk about Brady, you can talk about Mahomes, you can talk about Russell Wilson, some of the other ones are obviously phenomenal, but Aaron Rodgers, the point being, is still very much alive and in that conversation for best quarterback in the NFL. And when you have that, when you have Aaron Rodgers playing at that level, you give yourself a puncher's chance at the Super Bowl every single year. And you don't have to look further than that, NFC Championship loss to the Atlanta Falcons when the run the table season. Green Bay was a bad football team. They literally did not have cornerbacks on that team. Like, it was just a bunch of YMCA, intramural football players basically playing cornerback for Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers literally dragged that corpse of a secondary and other areas of the team to an NFC Championship game. And had it not been for some bizarro plays at the beginning, maybe they actually have a chance in that game, and you never know what's going to happen. So when you've got Aaron Rodgers playing at a high level, you give yourself a puncher's chance at a Super Bowl every single year. And regardless of who Green Bay loses this upcoming season, regardless of what adversity they face, injuries, etc., and when Aaron Rodgers is playing at that level, you give yourself a chance at going to and maybe even winning the big game. So that is 1A, and that's why it's so important to kick this position series off with Aaron Rodgers, because yes, he's going to make a ton of money. One is going to be the quarterback this upcoming season, but two, it's just so incredibly important that I know they're going to lose some players, and I know this is not going to be the most fun, potentially off season in the world, but when you've got Aaron Rodgers playing at that level, and again, no signs of him slowing down, I expect him to be very similar to what he was this past season. You have a legit chance at a Super Bowl. So that is great. That's a really good start. And then you've got Jordan Love. You have the ultimate lottery ticket maybe right now in the NFL. Nobody knows what this is going to pay out. This might pay out as another top 5 quarterback in the league and being able to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Or it could be the next Brian Brom. When you selected him, you had Rodgers on the roster already. You didn't know what you had with Rodgers, but you spent another top 50 pick on a quarterback, and he completely flamed out and was outplayed by a 7th rounder in Matt Flynn. And Matt Flynn got the backup quarterback, and Brian Brom was very, very quickly out of the NFL. So we don't know in what direction this is going to go yet with Jordan Love, but he is the ultimate lottery ticket for Green Bay. And we can sit and debate all day long and probably through a good, maybe 10 or 12 of these episodes as to whether or not Green Bay should have taken Jordan Love this past season and what the ultimate outcome will be. But ultimately, a lot of it will not matter if Jordan Love ends up becoming a great quarterback. And right now, we simply don't know. When I look back and saw what I saw at training camp, was he a good quarterback? No, he was not a good quarterback. Would I have expected him to be a great quarterback at that time? I certainly would not. Now, without a rookie minicamp, OTA, etc., this is a tough offense to learn for anyone, much less a rookie quarterback coming in. His head was swimming. He didn't have his fundamentals down. That's what this past season was for. We're going to learn a lot about Jordan Love this coming season. Hopefully there's a preseason where we actually get to see him play in some games, because I think that's going to be incredibly important, even if it's a game or two, for Green Bay to get a look at what he can do on an actual football field. And hopefully he progressed as the season went along. But right now, Jordan Love, simply a lottery ticket. And then you have one of your wild cards of this offseason, and that is Tim Boyle. And you go back, and I know I talked about this a few days back, but this is a really interesting decision for Green Bay. And they put a lot of time, effort, energy, and resources into Tim Boyle, developing him over the course of the last few seasons. Brian Gutekunst has gone on record as saying they think they can win games if Tim Boyle needed to start in the NFL. Bob McGinn, when he did his draft series, mentioned scouts from around the league that thought Tim Boyle had some talent and that he could potentially play in this league. So I don't know that Green Bay just wants to let him walk for absolutely nothing. I think you're selling low if you're not going to get anything in return. But Green Bay has no salary cap space. They have no money, and every single dollar is going to matter. And you can't really have Tim Boyle taking up that spot. And I know I just went over this a few days ago, but it's worth mentioning again. If you look at what a second round tender for Tim Boyle would be, it's about $3.4 million. A right of first refusal offer is about $2.1 million. And you look at some of the recent contracts that some quarterbacks just got. Nathan Peterman, 1 year, $2.8 million, right? I would personally, and maybe I'm biased, I would put Tim Boyle above Nate Peterman as current quarterbacks in the NFL, at least as a prospect still. Taylor Heineke, who definitely played well in that postseason game, but was literally a complete nobody up until that point, just signed a 2-year, almost $8.8 million deal. It'll probably end up being about $4 million per year. So that's kind of the going rate for these type of backup quarterbacks. And those are two of the higher paid backups in the league. You also have, Tyrod Taylor around $5 million. You've got Chase Daniel at about $5.3 million. You've got Jeff Driscoll at about $3.3 million. Those are kind of the going rates for a top tier backup quarterback. But signing Tim Boyle to a restricted free agent contract as a second round tender, about $3.4 million, that's going to give you probably about 3 quarterbacks in the top 40 of paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's probably a little bit overkill, and you don't want to take away snaps in the development of Jordan Love either, because that's going to be something that's really important. You need him to get those snaps in training camp. You need him to get those second string, snaps during the course of the regular season. And Tim Boyle, if he was on the team, likely would take away some of those snaps. On the flip side, you don't want to just let him go for nothing. There seems to be some legitimate potential here. So what I think Green Bay may do, I think there's one of 3 things. One, they could obviously just let him walk and say, hey, we would love to have you back, but we've kind of made our decision, made our bet. It's going to be Rodgers and Jordan Love, and it is what it is. That certainly could happen. I think there's also a real possibility that they could give a right of first refusal. Likely somebody offers, a 1 year, $3 million, $4 million deal, and Green Bay has to say, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to match it. And he ends up going to another team. I also think there's a real possibility that Green Bay could put the second round tender on him and pay him $3.4 million to begin with the goal of trading him for something. You look at a team like the Dallas Cowboys. Remember, Tim Boyle played with Mike McCarthy. They're going to go into the season probably with Dak Prescott on a very high franchise contract. They don't have the depth behind him. Ben DiNucci didn't look good. None of their backups look good. Andy Dalton's probably going to go elsewhere. So maybe trading a 7th round pick for Tim Boyle as a backup to help you in the case that Dak Prescott would maybe suffer a relapse of his injury or something like that, and also give you a prospect to potentially mold moving forward. I could see Dallas maybe giving a 7th round pick, or maybe some team views him a little bit better and gives something maybe a little bit better than that. But I think Green Bay would potentially like to get him back and try to trade him for something. And here's the big thing, and here's why I really say that. Those restricted tenders, they are completely non-guaranteed. So if Green Bay puts a second round tender on him, his agent probably signs it immediately because no team's giving up a second round pick for Tim Boyle. So they sign it immediately, and it gives you up until the end of training camp to try to trade him. And it also gives you a little bit more time to evaluate Jordan Love, because the other thing you don't want to do is have a Brian Brohm and Matt Flynn situation where you go into camp next year and Boyle once again completely outplays Jordan Love, and Jordan Love just doesn't show any progression whatsoever. And if that's the case, you don't just want to simply hand Jordan Love the backup quarterback position. And just like Green Bay didn't just give it to Brian Brohm, they gave it to Matt Flynn and eventually ended up releasing Brian Brohm. You don't want to give the quarterback a job simply because of where you selected him. And if Tim Boyle is the better of the 2 quarterbacks, and ultimately maybe even the better of the 2 prospects, I'm not saying that's the case. I don't think that's going to be the case. But if you go into camp and that ends up happening, it gives you some time to evaluate that. And if you get to the end of training camp and he has a $3.4 million cap hit, and one, Jordan Love has earned the backup quarterback, or at least it's close, and you think you want to give it to Jordan Love, then you release Tim Boyle, and there's no harm, no foul. There's no guaranteed money. Same thing, again, if you can't trade him, if you can't get anything in return, you release him and you say, we'd love to have you back on a vet minimum deal. If not, if you can get something better somewhere else, so be it. But at least you tried at that point to give him an opportunity to earn the job. And then that gives you training camp and preseason too to see, did Jordan Love get hurt? Did Aaron Rodgers get hurt? Do we need more depth at quarterback than we thought we needed? It buys you a little bit of time and also allows him to be on the trade block and get something. And if all of a sudden some injuries happen throughout the league to the quarterback position, like we saw this past season, it gives you some opportunity to trade him in the preseason as well to a team that maybe needs a quarterback. And again, I think Dallas would make a ton of sense. It's going to end up being my longest episode ever. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be right back here tomorrow. Make sure to check out Andrew and Kyle on today's audio version of the podcast. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.